If you are watching this message, it is not by accident. God has led you here for a reason. As one of His chosen ones, you are being called into a new season of divine transformation. The struggles you once faced are coming to an end because it is no longer your duty to carry the weight of financial burdens. God, the creator of the universe, is now taking full responsibility for your wealth and prosperity. For too long, you have worked tirelessly, believing that success comes solely through your own effort. But as a chosen one, your abundance is not dependent on human labor, it is a divine inheritance. God's favor is upon you, and what He has planned for you is greater than anything you could have imagined. Those who once mocked your lack will soon witness the manifestation of His blessings in your life. This is your moment, your appointed time. No obstacle can block what God has ordained for you. Trust in His timing, for the season of supernatural provision has arrived. Stand firm in faith, knowing that as a chosen one, your future is secure in the hands of the Almighty. The richness of God's kingdom is now yours to receive. If you know deep in your spirit that you are one of God's chosen ones, if you feel His divine calling over your life, and if you are ready to step into supernatural abundance, comment 777 below. Let the world see that you are set apart for greatness. Your season of abundance has begun. This is the season where God's chosen ones will see the manifestation of divine abundance in their lives. The struggles, doubts, and limitations of the past no longer have power over those whom God has set apart. What once seemed like an endless cycle of hardship is now being replaced by a supernatural flow of blessings that cannot be stopped. This is not just a season of financial increase, but a complete transformation in every aspect of life, spiritually, emotionally, and materially. For many chosen ones, the journey has been filled with trials, setbacks, and moments of despair. It may have felt as though every step forward was met with resistance, and every attempt at progress was hindered by unseen forces. But in this appointed time, God is revealing the richness that has always been yours. The world may have tried to convince you that you were not meant for greatness, that you were destined to live in lack, or that your dreams were unattainable. But God's plan for you is far greater than any human expectation. His word declares that you are the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, blessed and not cursed. This divine abundance is not something you have to strive for, it is something that is already being released into your life. You do not need to chase after success or exhaust yourself trying to make things happen. God has already orchestrated your breakthrough. He is aligning opportunities, bringing the right connections, and opening doors that no man can shut. The only requirement is your faith and willingness to receive. To walk in this abundance, you must first shift your mindset. Stop thinking in terms of scarcity and start embracing the reality of divine provision. The chosen ones do not live by the limitations of this world, they operate under the limitless power of God. Many will question how and why this abundance is flowing into your life. Some may even doubt your success, thinking that it is undeserved. But the truth is, this is not about human effort, it is about divine favor. God does not bless His chosen ones based on merit alone, but based on His unshakable promise. He has declared that His children will not be forsaken, that they will lack nothing, and that they will be a testimony of His goodness on the earth. When you are truly chosen, your life becomes a reflection of God's glory. Those who once doubted you will soon witness the undeniable evidence of His hand upon you. This is a time of great spiritual significance because when God releases abundance, it is not just for personal gain, it is for His kingdom. The wealth, influence, and success coming to the chosen ones are meant to be used as instruments of divine purpose. God is raising up a new generation of leaders, visionaries, and pioneers who will use their resources to build, uplift, and transform lives. The abundance you receive is not meant to be hoarded, but to be a tool for greater impact. The shift from struggle to abundance requires full surrender to God's plan. You must release the old way of thinking that tells you blessings must be earned through hardship. The chosen ones do not live under the curse of toil and endless striving. Instead, they walk in divine favor, where doors open effortlessly, where provision comes unexpectedly, and where opportunities are divinely appointed. This does not mean life is without challenges, but it does mean that you are no longer fighting alone. God is going before you, making the crooked path straight, and ensuring that every need is met. To align with this season of divine abundance, you must take action in faith. One of the key principles of receiving is expectation. If you continue to expect struggle, you will attract struggle. If you continue to dwell on past failures, you will remain in that cycle. But if you begin to expect provision, to declare blessings over your life, and to walk in confidence knowing that God has already made a way, then you will start to see His promises unfold. In this season, nothing can stop what God has set in motion. The blessings that are coming to you have already been established in the spiritual realm, and now they are manifesting in the physical, even if circumstances do not immediately reflect the promise. Do not be discouraged. The chosen ones are not moved by what they see, but by what they know to be true in the Spirit. Just as the farmer plants a seed and trusts that a harvest will come, so must you believe that the seeds of faith you have sown will produce an abundant return. The world may not understand this divine favor, but that does not matter. The opinions of others cannot change the promises of God. Those who laughed at your struggle will soon be silenced by your testimony. Those who doubted your potential will be astonished at what God does in your life. The chosen ones are not defined by the past, they are defined by the future that God has ordained for them. This is the time to walk boldly, to expect greatness, and to step into the fullness of what has always been yours. The responsibility for wealth no longer rests upon the shoulders of God's chosen ones, it is now His divine duty. For too long, many have lived under the false belief that financial success is solely the result of human effort, sweat, and relentless labor. This mindset, shaped by the world system, leads to exhaustion, frustration, and a never-ending cycle of striving. But for those whom God has set apart, there is a different reality. Prosperity is not dependent on personal hustle, it is built upon the unwavering foundation of God's faithfulness. He has already made provision, and now is the time for His chosen ones to step into the abundance He has prepared. Imagine a river that never runs dry, a source that continually replenishes itself no matter how much is drawn from it. This is the nature of God's provision for His chosen people. It does not operate according to the logic of the world, where the world teaches that wealth must be earned through tireless effort and struggle. God declares that His abundance flows effortlessly to those who walk in faith. This does not mean that work has no value, but it does mean that striving alone is not the source of success. The chosen ones live under a divine covenant where God Himself guarantees provision, not because of their efforts, but because of His unchanging promise. Throughout history, God has demonstrated His faithfulness to His people. When the Israelites wandered in the desert, He provided manna from heaven. When Elijah was in hiding, God commanded ravens to bring him food. When Jesus fed the 5,000, He took a small offering and multiplied it beyond human expectation. These miracles serve as reminders that God's provision is not limited by natural resources. For His chosen ones today, the same principle applies. God is not asking you to toil endlessly in fear of lack. He is asking you to trust that His supply is already secured. However, stepping into this level of abundance requires a transformation in thinking. Many believers continue to live with a scarcity mindset, convinced that they must struggle to survive. They believe that financial success is for a select few or that they are unworthy of experiencing true wealth. But God's chosen ones are called to break free from this limiting belief. If God, the creator of the universe, can speak the stars into existence, then surely he can provide for every need of those he has called. The problem is not the lack of provision, it is the lack of faith to receive it. When you accept that wealth is now God's responsibility, you begin to live in a state of divine rest. This does not mean laziness or passivity, but rather an active faith that trusts in God's timing and provision. It is the confidence of knowing that every financial need is already taken care of before it even arises. The chosen ones are not meant to live in stress, fear, or uncertainty about their future. They are meant to move forward in faith, knowing that their prosperity is secured by the one who never fails. This truth is liberating. It means that no matter the state of the economy, no matter what challenges arise, the chosen ones are always covered. Their source is not tied to a job, a business, or an investment. It is rooted in God's promise. This does not mean that God's people should not work hard or pursue opportunities, but it does mean that their success is not solely dependent on human effort. When God is the provider, the doors of opportunity open effortlessly. The right connections are made at the perfect time. Unexpected blessings appear when they are needed most. This is the supernatural economy of God's kingdom. For those who continue to hold on to the belief that financial blessings must be earned through struggle, there is an invitation to surrender. Let go of the burden of self-reliance and step into the divine flow of provision. The chosen ones are not orphans, they are heirs to the kingdom. And as heirs, they are entitled to the riches of their Father. Just as a loving parent ensures that their child lacks nothing, so does God ensure that his chosen ones always have more than enough. There is no need to live in constant worry, constantly trying to manipulate circumstances to create financial stability. God has already secured it. Walking in this revelation also means rejecting the world's fear-driven mentality. The world teaches that money is scarce, that opportunities are limited, and that success must be fought for. But the chosen ones live by a higher truth. God's abundance is limitless. His resources are infinite. There is no competition for blessings in his kingdom. What he has for you is uniquely yours, and no one can take it away. When you truly grasp this, you stop looking at life through the lens of struggle and start seeing it through the eyes of divine provision. The moment you embrace this truth, everything changes. Anxiety disappears, replaced by a deep peace that surpasses all understanding. You stop operating out of fear and start moving with boldness. You stop worrying about tomorrow because you know that God has already provided for it. This is not wishful thinking, it is a divine guarantee. As a chosen one, you are not just surviving, you are thriving under the covenant of supernatural abundance. The weight of financial pressure is no longer yours to carry. From now on, it is God's duty, and he never fails. When God takes responsibility for the wealth of his chosen ones, a profound transformation occurs, one that shifts them from uncertainty to unshakable confidence. No longer do they have to question where their next provision will come from, nor do they have to live under the weight of anxiety about the future. Instead, they walk in the certainty that every need has already been met before it even arises. This is the reality of divine provision, where wealth is not just about financial abundance, but a reflection of God's unwavering love and faithfulness. The world is filled with financial instability, economic downturns, and unexpected hardships. Yet none of these circumstances hold power over the chosen ones. Their wealth is not tied to worldly systems or market conditions. It is anchored in God's eternal promises. When others panic over recessions or financial crises, the chosen ones remain at peace, knowing that their source is not dependent on human efforts, but on the divine covenant that God has established with them. His provision is not seasonal or conditional, it is consistent and guaranteed. This divine confidence is much like that of a child who trusts their parents completely. A child does not worry about where their next meal will come from or whether they will have shelter. They move through life with a natural assurance that their parents will provide for them. In the same way, God's chosen ones must adopt this childlike faith. They are not meant to live in fear, constantly striving to secure their future through their own means. Instead, they are called to rest in the truth that God has already orchestrated their abundance. When this revelation takes root, fear dissolves, and a new level of freedom emerges, one where they are no longer bound by the worries that plague the world. However, this does not mean passivity or carelessness. Confidence in divine provision does not eliminate responsibility, but it does eliminate stress. God's chosen ones are still called to steward their blessings wisely, to act in faith, and to step boldly into the opportunities He places before them. But rather than acting out of desperation or fear, they act with assurance, knowing that success is inevitable when they align themselves with God's plan. Their wealth is a tool for divine purpose, and their prosperity is a reflection of their obedience and trust in God's faithfulness. There is a significant difference between self-reliance and God-reliance. The world teaches that success is earned through tireless effort, competition, and strategic maneuvering. It glorifies self-sufficiency, making people believe that they alone are responsible for their financial security. This mindset leads to exhaustion, frustration, and often disappointment, as people strive endlessly to achieve success but find that no amount of work guarantees stability. In contrast, God's chosen ones understand that their prosperity comes from Him alone. They do not have to fight for what is already theirs, they simply have to walk in faith and obedience. Walking in this level of confidence means letting go of the need to control every outcome. Many struggle with fully surrendering their financial future to God because they have been conditioned to believe that they must always have a backup plan, a safety net, or a detailed roadmap for success. But faith does not require seeing the whole picture, it requires trusting the one who does. The chosen ones understand that while planning is good, worrying is not. They take steps in faith, knowing that God will guide them each step of the way. When they move in obedience, doors open effortlessly, opportunities arise at just the right moment, and provision flows in ways they never expected. The enemy often tries to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of the chosen ones, making them question whether they are truly worthy of divine provision. He whispers lies that suggest they must work harder, do more, and prove themselves before they can experience financial abundance. But these are deceptions meant to keep them trapped in a cycle of striving rather than trusting. God has never required His people to earn His blessings. He gives them freely out of His love and grace. When the chosen ones reject the enemy's lies and embrace the truth of God's provision, they step into a supernatural flow of abundance that cannot be hindered. Another key aspect of living in divine confidence is understanding that provision extends beyond finances. God's abundance is holistic, it touches every part of life. His chosen ones experience wealth in their health, relationships, peace of mind, and overall well-being. They do not just receive money, they receive favor, protection, and supernatural opportunities that position them for long-term success. Their wealth is not measured by a bank account alone, but by the fullness of life that comes from walking in alignment with God's purpose. As this confidence grows, the chosen ones become living testimonies of God's faithfulness. Those around them begin to notice the difference, the peace they carry, the opportunities that seem to come effortlessly, the favor that follows them wherever they go. People will question how they remain secure when others are struggling, how they continue to prosper when the world is in crisis. The answer is simple: their wealth is not of this world, it is from God. And what He provides, no man can take away. This divine provision is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be shared. The chosen ones understand that they are blessed to be a blessing. They do not fear giving because they know that their source is unlimited. They give freely, generously, and joyfully, knowing that as they pour out, God will continue to pour in. This is the principle of abundance. What you sow, you reap. The more they invest in others, the more they see multiplication in their own lives. Their wealth has a purpose beyond personal gain. It is meant to uplift, empower, and expand God's kingdom. In this new season, God's chosen ones no longer have to live in uncertainty. The struggle, the fear, and the endless striving are over. They move forward with the confidence that they are fully provided for, fully taken care of, and fully secure in the hands of their Heavenly Father. Their wealth is a testament to His unchanging love, and their lives are a reflection of His faithfulness. As they continue to trust, believe, and walk in obedience, they will experience a level of abundance that goes beyond anything they could have imagined. When God's chosen ones step into divine abundance, they experience a shift that affects every aspect of their lives. It is not simply about financial wealth, it is a transformation that touches their health, relationships, purpose, and overall well-being. For too long, many have believed that abundance is limited to material possessions. But true prosperity is far more than just money. It is the fullness of life that God desires for His people. His blessings are holistic, bringing peace, joy, and favor in ways that cannot be measured by worldly standards. This shift from struggle to supernatural provision does not happen by chance. It is a result of alignment with God's divine order. When chosen ones embrace this reality, they no longer operate under the burdensome mindset of lack. They stop striving out of fear and instead walk in faith, trusting that their every need is already met. This is not passive living but a powerful state of expectation, knowing that because God has spoken prosperity over their lives, it must come to pass. They do not wonder if the blessings will come, they move forward in confidence, knowing that the blessings are already in motion. One of the most profound aspects of divine abundance is the ease that comes with it. What once felt like an uphill climb, working tirelessly, fearing the unknown, and constantly struggling to make ends meet, becomes a downhill ride, carried by God's grace and favor. The chosen ones understand that their success is not a result of their own strength, but of God's unshakable promises. They experience open doors that they did not have to push open, opportunities that seem to appear effortlessly, and divine connections that place them exactly where they need to be. These are not coincidences, they are the direct result of walking in alignment with God's will. The world operates under a system of relentless labor and competition, where people believe that their worth is determined by how hard they work. While diligence is valuable, the chosen ones know that their wealth does not come from endless striving, but from God's supernatural provision. The difference is in the source. While the world depends on effort alone, God's people depend on His unfailing promises. This does not mean that they do not work, rather, it means that their work is blessed beyond natural limitations. When God's favor is upon someone, their efforts are multiplied, their results are supernatural, and their increase is inevitable. As they step into this new reality, the chosen ones begin to notice a transformation in their mindset. They no longer fear loss or failure because they know that their abundance is secure. They no longer compare themselves to others because they understand that God's blessings are unique for each person. They do not chase wealth because wealth naturally flows to them as they remain faithful. This shift in thinking brings a level of peace and joy that the world cannot comprehend. They are no longer burdened by worry or consumed by the pressures of financial insecurity. Instead, they rest in the assurance that God has already prepared everything they need. This abundance does not only manifest in their finances, but in their relationships as well. The chosen ones find themselves surrounded by people who uplift, encourage, and align with God's purpose for their lives. Toxic connections fade away, and divine connections take their place. Their friendships, marriages, and partnerships reflect the goodness of God because they are built on His foundation. True wealth includes meaningful relationships that bring joy, support, and encouragement. God does not just bless individuals, He blesses their families, their communities, and their future generations. Health is another area where divine abundance is evident. The stress and anxiety that once consumed them begin to fade as they trust in God's provision. They experience healing, restoration, and vitality because their minds and hearts are no longer weighed down by fear. The peace that comes from knowing that God is in control allows them to live in a state of wellness. This is not just about physical health, but emotional and spiritual wholeness. Their hearts are free from the heaviness of worry, and their spirits are strengthened by the certainty of God's faithfulness. Stepping into divine abundance also means discovering one's true purpose. The chosen ones are no longer caught up in meaningless pursuits or exhausting themselves in areas that do not align with their calling. Instead, they are led by divine guidance toward their true mission in life. They no longer seek jobs just to make a living. They seek assignments that fulfill God's purpose for them. They no longer chase after opportunities that drain their energy. They walk through doors that God has specifically opened for them. Their work is no longer about survival, it is about impact, influence, and kingdom expansion. The chosen ones are also given the wisdom to manage and multiply their wealth. They do not squander their resources, but use them wisely to build a lasting legacy. They understand that their financial blessings are not just for their personal enjoyment, but for a higher purpose. They invest in the right opportunities. They support the right causes. And they give generously without fear of lack. They know that as they sow, they will reap an even greater harvest. The more they give, the more they receive, because they are operating under the principle of divine abundance. There is no room for doubt in this new season. The chosen ones fully embrace their inheritance and refuse to live in the shadow of past struggles. They let go of the mindset that told them they had to fight for every blessing and instead step into the truth that their blessings are already secured. As they continue to walk in faith, they see the fullness of God's provision unfold in every area of their lives. Wealth is no longer something they strive for, it is something they become. A reflection of God's unshakable promise to provide for those He has called. When God's chosen ones step into His divine provision, their entire approach to life shifts. No longer bound by the world's expectations or limited by human understanding, they begin to operate from a place of faith rather than fear. The chosen ones are called to trust that their provision is already secured, not because of their personal effort, but because of God's unwavering faithfulness. This trust requires a release of doubt, of control, and of the need to understand every step of the journey before moving forward. It is an act of faith, one that acknowledges that God's plan is always perfect, even when it does not align with human logic. The greatest challenge for many chosen ones is overcoming the deeply ingrained belief that financial security is something they must fight for. Society teaches that wealth is achieved through constant struggle, that success is a result of relentless labor, and that financial stability requires meticulous planning and calculated moves. While wisdom and diligence are important, they are not the true source of abundance. The chosen ones must break free from this limited way of thinking and embrace the reality that their provision is supernatural. God does not operate according to the principles of the world, He operates in divine overflow. This does not mean that the chosen ones sit idly by, expecting riches to fall from the sky. Rather, they walk in obedience, stepping into the opportunities that God places before them. When they are aligned with His will, they find that doors open effortlessly. Resources appear unexpectedly, and prosperity follows them rather than them chasing after it. The difference between those who strive and those who are chosen is in their posture. The world fights for wealth, the chosen ones receive it. They do not waste energy trying to manipulate circumstances to produce financial gain. Instead, they trust in divine timing, knowing that God's provision is always right on schedule. This level of faith requires patience, which can be difficult for those who have spent years relying on their own strength. Many chosen ones have experienced seasons of hardship, times when it seemed as though no breakthrough would come. These moments were not signs of abandonment, but rather times of preparation. God often allows His chosen ones to endure trials, not to break them, but to refine them. Before stepping into divine abundance, they must first develop the character, wisdom, and trust necessary to steward it well. There is a reason why not everyone experiences the fullness of God's provision. It requires a heart that is ready to handle great blessing without being consumed by it. Doubt is one of the biggest barriers to receiving divine provision. The enemy constantly tries to plant seeds of fear and uncertainty, making the chosen ones question whether they are truly worthy of abundance. He whispers lies that suggest they must do more, prove themselves, or achieve certain milestones before they can access God's blessings. But these are deceptions meant to keep them trapped in a cycle of striving. The truth is, God's promises are not based on human performance, but on His eternal love and covenant. When the chosen ones let go of doubt and step into faith, they unlock the supernatural flow of provision that has been waiting for them all along. Another critical element of walking in divine abundance is understanding the importance of obedience. God's provision is often tied to specific instructions, and those who listen and act in faith are the ones who see His blessings manifest. Sometimes, the steps God requires may not make sense in the natural realm. He may prompt someone to give generously when they are in need themselves. He may instruct them to leave a secure job and step into an unknown opportunity. He may call them to trust Him in ways that stretch their faith beyond comfort. But those who obey, even when it is difficult, experience a level of provision that is beyond what they could have achieved on their own. The chosen ones also recognize that wealth is not just about material possessions, it is about living a life of purpose. Financial abundance is a tool, not an end goal. It is meant to empower them to fulfill their divine calling, to bless others, and to advance God's kingdom on earth. When wealth is used selfishly, it becomes a burden. But when it is used for a greater purpose, it becomes a blessing that continues to multiply. The chosen ones are not just recipients of God's provision, they are distributors of His goodness. As they give, they receive. As they pour out, more is poured into them. This is the principle of divine abundance. What is given in faith is always returned in greater measure. Perhaps the most powerful transformation that occurs when chosen ones embrace divine provision is the peace that follows. No longer do they live with anxiety about the future. They do not stress over bills, opportunities, or financial security. They walk with a confidence that comes from knowing that their Father is in control. This peace is not just about having enough money, it is about having the assurance that they will always be provided for, no matter what. It is the kind of peace that surpasses all understanding, one that allows them to move boldly, take risks, and trust that God is leading them to greater things. For those who fully step into this reality, life is no longer about survival, it is about thriving. Every decision is made from a place of trust rather than fear. Every opportunity is seen through the lens of divine favor rather than personal struggle. Every step is taken with the assurance that abundance is already secured. The chosen ones do not worry about tomorrow, for they know that God has already made a way. Their wealth is not just financial, it is spiritual, emotional, and purposeful. They are no longer striving, they are receiving. walking in the fullness of what has always been theirs. When God's chosen ones step into the wealth and abundance He has prepared for them, they must understand that this blessing is not just for their personal benefit, but for a divine purpose. God does not bless His people for them to hoard wealth or live selfishly. He blesses them so that they may be vessels of His provision to others. The wealth given to the chosen ones is a tool to further His kingdom, to uplift those in need, and to create lasting impact in the world. When they recognize this, they shift from merely receiving to actively stewarding the blessings they have been given. Stewardship is one of the greatest responsibilities that comes with divine abundance. Many believe that having wealth means simply enjoying financial freedom. But the chosen ones understand that it carries a higher calling. God entrusts wealth to those who will use it wisely, those who will invest in His work, support ministries, and use their resources to make a difference. Wealth, when used with divine purpose, multiplies. It does not diminish when it is given away in faith, rather, it grows, creating a continuous cycle of provision. The chosen ones do not operate under the fear of losing what they have. They give freely, knowing that their source is limitless. One of the most powerful principles of divine abundance is that the more one gives, the more one receives. This is not merely a financial transaction, but a spiritual law. When the chosen ones operate with a heart of generosity, they activate a flow of blessings that cannot be stopped. Scripture affirms this in Luke 6 verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." This principle applies not just to money, but to time, wisdom, and resources. Those who live open-handedly will always have more than enough because they have positioned themselves as conduits of God's provision. However, this requires a mindset shift. Many people, including believers, operate from a scarcity mentality, constantly afraid of not having enough, always clinging tightly to what they have. This mindset leads to fear-based decisions, hesitation in giving, and missed opportunities for greater blessings. The chosen ones, however, understand that their provision is secure. They know that they are not just blessed for themselves, but to be a blessing to others. As they align their wealth with God's purpose, they experience an overflow that goes beyond personal satisfaction and extends to transforming lives. The chosen ones also recognize that wealth is not about status or personal gain, it is about impact. True success in God's kingdom is not measured by the size of one's bank account, but by the difference one makes in the lives of others. Money is not the goal, it is a tool to accomplish God's will. Those who grasp this truth understand that their financial resources are meant to support the poor, fund ministries, provide for those in need, and bring change to the world. They are called to be kingdom financiers, people whom God uses to direct wealth toward His purposes. This does not mean that the chosen ones cannot enjoy the blessings they receive. God delights in seeing His children prosper, and He wants them to live lives of joy, peace, and fulfillment. However, they must always remember that their wealth has a greater purpose. They are not called to be reservoirs that hoard blessings, but rivers that allow blessings to flow. A river that keeps flowing remains fresh, but a reservoir that hoards water eventually becomes stagnant. Likewise, those who hoard wealth out of fear or greed will find that it does not bring true satisfaction. But those who use it according to God's will experience lasting fulfillment. Another crucial aspect of managing divine wealth is wisdom. Many people receive financial blessings but mismanage them, leading to loss and frustration. The chosen ones, however, operate with divine wisdom, understanding that money is not just to be spent but to be cultivated. They seek God's guidance on where to invest, how to multiply their resources, and how to be responsible stewards of what they have been given. They do not engage in reckless spending or short-sighted financial decisions. Instead, they approach wealth with the understanding that they are accountable to God for how they use it. Their wealth also serves as a testimony. When God blesses His chosen ones abundantly, it is not just for their comfort, it is to showcase His goodness to the world. People will see the undeniable favor upon their lives and wonder what makes them different. This is an opportunity to point others toward God, showing them that divine provision is real, that faithfulness is rewarded, and that God's promises never fail. The wealth of the chosen ones becomes a signpost of God's glory, a demonstration that He provides exceedingly and abundantly for those who trust in Him. Furthermore, the chosen ones understand that their wealth is generational. What God gives them is not just for their lifetime, but for the generations that follow. They do not build wealth solely for themselves, but for their children, their grandchildren, and for future kingdom work. They lay a foundation that allows those who come after them to walk in even greater abundance. Proverbs 13 verse 22 states, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." The chosen ones think beyond the present moment. They build legacies that will continue to bless people long after they are gone. In this new season of divine provision, the chosen ones no longer think small. They do not operate in fear, nor do they live with a mindset of limitation. They embrace their role as stewards of God's resources, knowing that their wealth has been given for a divine purpose. They give freely, invest wisely, and walk boldly in the abundance that has always been theirs. They are not just receivers of blessings, they are distributors of God's goodness, ensuring that His kingdom advances and that His people are uplifted. The wealth of the chosen ones is not just personal, it is a movement, a force that changes lives, shifts atmospheres, and leaves a lasting legacy for generations to come. When God's chosen ones step into the wealth He has ordained for them, they must recognize that this abundance is not temporary or fleeting, it is part of His eternal plan. The riches that God bestows upon His people are not subject to the fluctuations of the world's economy, nor can they be taken away by human circumstances. This divine wealth is a direct result of His covenant, an everlasting promise that cannot be broken. Many people worry about whether their success will last, but the chosen ones understand that what God has given them is secure. His provision is not based on worldly conditions, but on His unshakable word. God's chosen ones live under a different system from the rest of the world. While others may experience financial uncertainty and struggle to hold onto their wealth, those who walk in divine abundance know that their source is eternal. They do not operate in fear of loss because they understand that God's provision does not run dry. The same God who provided for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the same God who provides today. The chosen ones do not just believe in financial blessings for a season, they believe in generational wealth, a continuous flow of provision that extends far beyond their lifetime. The enemy often tries to deceive people into believing that wealth is unpredictable, that what is given today can be taken away tomorrow. But God's word declares otherwise. When He blesses His people, He does so with the intention of making that blessing permanent. Proverbs 10 verse 22 states, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and He adds no sorrow to it." This means that divine wealth does not come with stress, worry, or instability. It is not the type of riches that require constant effort to maintain. Instead, it is an everlasting inheritance, passed down through faith and obedience. One of the greatest distinctions of the chosen ones is that their wealth is built on a firm foundation. Unlike the wealth of the world, which is often acquired through manipulation, competition, and self-reliance, divine prosperity is established through righteousness, obedience, and trust in God. This is why the chosen ones do not worry about economic downturns, financial crises, or worldly recessions. Their security is in God's promises. And His provision is not dictated by human systems. No government, corporation, or market fluctuation can disrupt the abundance that God has ordained for them. As the chosen ones walk in this reality, they begin to see how everything aligns for their good. Opportunities come effortlessly. Connections are divinely arranged, and resources flow to them in ways that defy logic. This is because they are operating under an open heaven, where God's favor continuously surrounds them. When they step into this divine flow, they experience a supernatural ease, what others struggle to achieve through years of toil. They receive effortlessly through faith. This does not mean they do nothing. It means that their work is divinely blessed. Their efforts are multiplied, and their success is inevitable. One of the key revelations that the chosen ones embrace is that their wealth is not just for them, it is for the expansion of God's kingdom. When they understand that their financial blessings have a divine purpose, they begin to walk in even greater abundance. They do not just accumulate wealth, they invest in what matters most. They build businesses that honor God, support ministries that spread His word, and fund initiatives that bring hope and restoration to the world. The more they pour into God's work, the more they see His provision increase in their lives. Another powerful truth is that the chosen ones do not live in fear of losing what they have. The world teaches that success must be protected at all costs, that people must work tirelessly to maintain their wealth, and that fear of failure is a necessary motivator. But the chosen ones live with a different mindset. They do not operate in fear, but in faith. They know that just as God provided for them once, He will continue to do so. Their wealth is not a fleeting experience, it is a continual manifestation of God's promise. They do not hold onto their blessings with a tight grip, fearing they will disappear. They live open-handed, trusting that the more they give, the more they will receive. The chosen ones also understand that divine wealth does not come with unnecessary burdens. The world glorifies financial success, but it often comes at a high price: stress, exhaustion, broken relationships, and spiritual emptiness. But God's provision is different. It brings peace, joy, and fulfillment. It allows His people to live freely, without the chains of financial worry. They do not have to sacrifice their health, their families, or their spiritual lives in pursuit of money. Instead, their wealth enhances every area of their lives, allowing them to experience the fullness of God's goodness. This eternal richness is not just about money, it is about a life that overflows with purpose, security, and divine alignment. The chosen ones recognize that their prosperity is a reflection of God's faithfulness, not their own ability. They walk confidently, knowing that they are not limited by the restrictions of the world. Their future is already secured, their provision is already stored up, and their success is already written in God's plan. They do not spend their days worrying about what is to come, they live in expectation, knowing that greater blessings are always on the horizon. Through faith and obedience, the chosen ones establish a legacy that lasts for generations. Their wealth does not fade, their blessings do not diminish, and their impact does not end with them. They build lives that testify to God's faithfulness, demonstrating to the world that divine provision is real, unshakable, and eternal. Their abundance is not just for today, it is a lasting inheritance, ensuring that those who come after them will walk in the same favor and provision. This is the divine promise for God's chosen ones, an eternal richness that cannot be taken away, a supernatural wealth that continues to flow, and a life of abundance that reflects His unfailing love. When God's chosen ones step into divine abundance, they realize that it is not something they must chase, it is something that naturally comes to them as they walk in alignment with His will. The world teaches that success and prosperity are achieved through relentless effort, competition, and strategic planning. However, the chosen ones operate under a different principle. They receive wealth not through struggle, but through divine favor. Their provision is not a reward for toil, it is a manifestation of God's promise. The supernatural flow of blessings that enters their lives is not based on the world's economy, but on heaven's supply. When they begin to truly trust in this divine provision, they experience a shift where opportunities, resources, and wealth start coming to them effortlessly. This is because God's favor attracts abundance. Just as rivers flow effortlessly toward the ocean, so too does wealth flow toward those who are in divine alignment. The chosen ones are not beggars of blessings, they are recipients of a supernatural inheritance that ensures they will never lack. However, stepping into this flow requires an intentional shift in mindset. Many people unknowingly block their own blessings because they are conditioned to expect struggle. They have been taught that success must be earned through difficulty, that they must prove themselves before they can receive financial abundance. But God's chosen ones are called to think differently. They do not operate under the curse of laborious striving, they live under the blessing of divine provision. When they let go of limiting beliefs and embrace the certainty that God is their provider, they unlock a new dimension of financial overflow. This does not mean that the chosen ones sit idly by, waiting for wealth to appear without taking action. Instead, they move in faith, making decisions based on trust in God's timing and guidance. When an opportunity arises, they do not hesitate in fear, they step into it with confidence, knowing that God has already gone before them to prepare the way. This is how the supernatural flow of wealth works. When the chosen ones align their actions with faith, doors open, resources appear, and success follows. One of the defining characteristics of divine abundance is that it manifests in unexpected ways. God is not limited by human logic, nor is he bound by conventional methods of financial increase. The chosen ones often find themselves receiving unexpected opportunities, meeting influential people at just the right time, or having doors open that they never even knew existed. This is because their provision is orchestrated by divine hands. The same God who sent manna from heaven to feed the Israelites is the same God who ensures that his chosen ones never lack. This divine flow also removes the stress and anxiety that often accompany financial matters. In the world, people constantly worry about money, how to earn more, how to sustain their income, how to prepare for the future. But the chosen ones live with a different reality. They do not wake up each morning burdened by financial fear, they wake up knowing that their needs are already met. This deep-seated peace is one of the greatest gifts of divine abundance. It allows them to focus on their purpose, on serving others, and on fulfilling their kingdom assignments without being distracted by financial concerns. Another powerful truth about divine provision is that it is not just meant for the individual, it is meant to overflow into the lives of others. The chosen ones understand that they are not just recipients of wealth, they are distributors of God's blessings. Their prosperity is not a selfish pursuit, but a divine responsibility. They are called to be conduits of God's generosity, using their resources to bless their families, their communities, and the world. When the chosen ones walk in this supernatural flow, they are not just building personal success stories, they are creating a movement of kingdom wealth. They fund ministries, support missions, and establish businesses that honor God. Their wealth is not measured solely by personal gain, but by the impact they make in advancing God's purposes on earth. They understand that the more they give, the more they receive. This is the divine law of abundance. Generosity unlocks increase. The chosen ones are not afraid to give because they know that their supply is endless. Their confidence in God's provision also sets them apart from the rest of the world. While others operate in scarcity, fear, and financial uncertainty, the chosen ones move forward with unwavering assurance. Their wealth is not dependent on human institutions, market trends, or economic conditions, it is rooted in the promises of an unchanging God. This unshakable confidence is what allows them to take bold steps, to make fearless investments, and to step into new opportunities without hesitation. The chosen ones also recognize that the supernatural flow of wealth is not temporary. It is not a one-time blessing, nor is it a short-lived success. It is an eternal inheritance, a generational blessing that continues to expand. They do not live in fear that their abundance will suddenly disappear because they know that what God has given is secured by His covenant. The wealth they walk in today is just the beginning of a lasting legacy that will bless their children, their grandchildren, and many generations to come. As they continue to walk in obedience and faith, the chosen ones become living examples of what it means to experience divine wealth. Their lives become testimonies of God's goodness, inspiring others to believe in the power of supernatural provision. The world takes notice when people who were once struggling begin to thrive, when those who were once overlooked become highly favored, and when those who once lived in lack now walk in overflow. This is the evidence of God's hand at work, and it is undeniable. In every generation, God raises up individuals who will break free from the limitations of the world and step into His supernatural economy. The chosen ones are those individuals. They are the ones who refuse to accept mediocrity, who reject the notion that they must struggle to succeed, and who boldly claim their inheritance in Christ. Their wealth is not just about material possessions, it is about living a life of impact, influence, and divine purpose. They do not follow the patterns of the world, they follow the blueprint of heaven. And because of this, they experience a level of prosperity that is beyond human understanding. When God's chosen ones fully embrace the divine wealth He has prepared for them, they step into a new realm of freedom, one where financial security, purpose, and divine provision are no longer things they must chase, but blessings that naturally flow into their lives. This is not just a temporary season of abundance, it is a permanent shift, a transformation that will not only impact their present, but will also leave a lasting legacy for generations to come. The wealth of God's chosen ones is not something they must hold onto with fear, nor is it something that can be taken away by the world. Unlike the riches of men, which can fade with time, divine wealth is rooted in eternal principles. The chosen ones understand that their blessings are not fragile or subject to change based on economic conditions. Their inheritance is secured by God Himself, and what He has given cannot be stolen, diminished, or destroyed. This unshakable truth gives them a confidence that allows them to move forward boldly, knowing that their future is already established. As they continue to walk in obedience, the chosen ones become stewards of something far greater than personal wealth. They become builders of kingdom legacy. They do not accumulate wealth for selfish purposes, but to ensure that God's work continues to expand. They use their resources to bless others, to fund ministries, to build businesses that honor God, and to invest in opportunities that bring transformation to communities. This is why their wealth is not just a momentary gain, it is an eternal investment. They understand that what they do with their resources today will echo into eternity. One of the greatest signs of divine wealth is the peace that comes with it. The world often associates financial success with stress, exhaustion, and constant striving. Many who achieve material success find themselves consumed by anxiety, worrying about how to maintain their riches, fearing loss, and feeling trapped by the pressure to succeed. But the chosen ones do not live this way. Their wealth is not a burden, it is a blessing. They walk with peace, knowing that their provision is secure. They do not fear the future because they know that God is already in it, orchestrating every detail for their good. This kind of peace is what sets them apart. While others strive, they rest in faith. While others worry, they trust in divine provision. While others compete for wealth, They live in the confidence that their supply will never run dry. Their lives become a testimony to the world, a demonstration of what it means to be truly blessed by God. People will look at them and wonder how they continue to prosper despite challenges, how they remain stable in times of uncertainty, and how they always have enough to give. The answer is simple: they are walking in the supernatural abundance of God. Their wealth is also marked by generosity. The chosen ones are not hoarders, they are distributors of God's blessings. They give freely, knowing that their supply is endless. They understand that generosity is a key to sustained abundance. What they sow, they will reap in greater measure. The more they pour into others, the more they see God pour into them. Their giving is not driven by obligation, but by a deep understanding that they are part of something much bigger than themselves. They know that their resources are tools for advancing God's kingdom, and they use them accordingly. As their wealth continues to grow, they ensure that it does not end with them. The chosen ones build generational legacies, securing financial stability for their children and their children's children. They teach the next generation the principles of faith, stewardship, and divine provision so that the cycle of abundance continues. Proverbs 13 verse 22 states, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." This is exactly what the chosen ones do. They do not just think about their own lifetime, they plan for the generations to come. And their impact goes beyond their families. They become pillars in their communities, using their resources to create opportunities, to help the less fortunate, and to establish institutions that reflect God's goodness. They understand that their wealth has a purpose beyond personal gain. It is meant to shape the world around them. Because of their obedience, entire communities are transformed. Because of their faith, lives are changed. Because of their generosity, God's love is made tangible to those in need. This is the ultimate fulfillment of divine wealth. It is not just about personal success, but about making a lasting difference. The chosen ones understand that they were never meant to struggle under the weight of financial burdens. They were meant to walk in abundance, to live in peace, and to use their blessings for the glory of God. They were chosen to thrive, to lead, and to demonstrate to the world what it looks like when a person fully trusts in God's provision. As they continue to walk in faith, they realize that they are no longer bound by the limitations of the world. Their wealth is not dependent on human systems, nor is it controlled by circumstances. It is part of a divine covenant, one that guarantees provision, prosperity, and purpose. They no longer live in fear of loss, because they know that their source is eternal. They no longer strive for success, because they know that it follows them naturally. The chosen ones have stepped into their divine inheritance. They are no longer struggling, no longer doubting, no longer wondering if they will have enough. They have more than enough. Their lives are a reflection of God's faithfulness, a testimony of His provision, and a beacon of His goodness. This is their time. This is their season. They are walking in supernatural abundance, and nothing can stop what God has already set in motion. The wealth they possess is not just for today, it is for eternity. And as they continue to trust, to give, and to walk in obedience, they will see even greater things unfold. Their best days are ahead. Their blessings are overflowing, and their legacy is secure. This is the destiny of God's chosen ones, an inheritance of limitless abundance, a future filled with divine favor, and a life that reflects His eternal glory.